How's it, everybody? The terrain we ride today is very different to what it was 10, 20 or 30 years ago. Innovation in the bike industry and daring trail builders the world over are continuously taking us into longer, steeper and super high-speed lines, the likes of which we previously only dreamt about. It's definitely a lacquer time to be riding. With this constant evolution of the game, it's natural that at times bike components fall behind on pure capability and durability. Since mountain biking began, I've seen this happen many times with many brands across many disciplines. Handlebars, tires, rims, cranks, derailleurs, you name it, they've all had their share of redesigns to meet demands of the ever gnarlier riding we do. In recent times, one of the components that has been under a bit of stress in the eMTB, enduro and downhill space is brakes. Whether it's a heavy eMTB or analog bike, the speeds attained when riding big mountains puts quite the strain on rotors and calipers, not to mention the rider's forearm squeezing that lever for all it's worth. The latest contribution from SRAM to this issue is an entirely new brake called Maven. If you're riding e-bikes, enduro or downhill, and are looking for more braking performance, you might want to check these out. SRAM says the new Maven brakes are nearly 50% more powerful than their code brakes, and perhaps what is more impressive is they require 32% less squeeze force at the lever to generate the same power as codes. I've been mucking about with them for about 3 weeks now, and in this video I'm going to talk about some of the tech involved, tell you about how they feel on the trails, and I'll end the video with some advice on selecting the right rotor size, something that will likely be referred to as brake tuning. Before we jump in, just a quick shout out to Jonty Nettling at the hangar in Somerset West for fitting the Mavens for me. Jonty has years of experience from the World Cup circuit and is not only a solid dude, also runs one of the best shops and workshops in town. Okay, so ergonomics wise, the new Maven brake has the same lever feel as codes. That's because things like pivot point placement, blade length and shape are all carryovers from the codes. Just about everything else is new. Tech wise, the Maven calipers have 4 huge pistons per caliper measuring 18 and 19.5 millimeters. What this does is simply put more force against the pads for more friction with less effort. They've used 4 caliper body bolts to clamp things super tightly to reduce any caliper flex that would result in a loss of power. To produce a consistent feel, SRAM says the calipers are designed to maintain optimal heat. So once they are warm and biting, they don't overheat, and they also hang on to the right amount of heat to keep the bite consistent from top to bottom. I was chatting to Chris Mandel at SRAM and he mentioned one of the big secrets with the Mavens is the new material they're using in the seals. Apparently it overcomes issues other mineral oil based brakes have by creating an airtight seal even during extreme braking heat or at low atmospheric pressures. The bleed process on the Mavens is the same as on any SRAM brake, and another cool thing is the service intervals are very long. It's a recommended whopping 2 years for a full service or full brake bleed. The pads are bigger too and available in organic or sintered options. The Maven levers have tool-free contact point and reach adjust. They rotate on a swing link lever which helps them modulate well by progressively ramping up the power the more you pull the lever. SRAM says they've also optimized the size of the piston inside the lever, marrying it to the bigger pistons inside the caliper. The Maven levers also have the newish stealth design where the lever runs closer to the bar. This improves cockpit layout and allows for cleaner cable routing options. Now it's downhill race season here in South Africa, so I've put the Mavens onto a downhill rig for the initial testing. If you are interested in the weights, the lever, hose and caliper of the Mavens are only 20 grams chunkier than the codes. That's per brake. On the DH bike, I switched from SRAM code RSC brakes with a 220-200 HS2 rotor combo to Mavens with a smaller 200-180 HS2 rotor combo. Now, including the mounting hardware, this switch to Mavens dropped about 85 grams off the total weight of the bike, and there was a 95 gram saving on rotational weight. Downsizing of rotors is as per SRAM's recommendation. The brakes are so powerful, they reckon it's best to start with the smallest rotors your frame can accommodate. Being dry season here in Cape Town, I opted for the organic pads, which have a strong initial bite and can be quieter than the sintered options that are best suited to wet or dry conditions. There was nothing tricky with the installation nor any lengthy bed-in process. A 3-minute car park ride was all that was needed to bed the brakes and new rotors before dropping into my local. On the mountain, I immediately felt megatons more stopping power than the codes, but still with great modulation. The first few corners on my first run, I definitely overbraked, but adjusting to the extra power didn't take long at all. A couple runs in and everything felt natural. So, to SRAM's claim of power, do they really have 50% more power and require 32% less lever force to produce the same power as codes? I think yes. This is 100% not marketing talk. Those percentages by SRAM match exactly what I felt on the trail. I want to add that I've yet to test the brakes on the steepest and longest DH runs around town, but the extra power is blatantly obvious. This is not one of those upgrades where you won't notice an immediate impact. I think they're also going to be absolutely incredible on e-bikes too. The real big deal with the Mavens is not about weight savings. It's about a more durable brake that is extremely powerful and tunable to suit the way you ride. This more powerful lever and caliper now means you can run smaller rotors when riding in flatter regions, and if you take a trip to steep, long or high-speed trails, you can then go up a rotor size. The gurus at SRAM reckon for every 20mm jump in rotor size, the mechanical advantage is around 14%. That's quite a lot more power. So that's brake tuning. Not much different from changing your tire casings and raising your bars for more gnarlier trails. And it's a way to get more performance from your bike whilst also reducing body fatigue when riding steep lines. Lastly, I've got some guidelines to help you choose the right rotor size for your bike. The first thing to consider is if your rotors are too big, they won't heat up enough and you won't be getting the best performance from your brakes. Have a look at your rotors. If there's no distinct coloring on them, it probably means they aren't getting hot enough and sizing down would be a good idea. On the other hand, if your current rotors have a purple or rainbow discoloring, it means they are running too hot, in which case you should upsize. Ideally, your rotors should show a mild brown or bronze discoloring. This means they are running at optimal heat and are correctly sized for you and the terrain you ride, and you're getting the best out of them. Right, that's it. Send us a message if you've got any questions on these Mavens or on your brake setup. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. See you on the trails.